The PRS Herman Li Signature, the Chleo, is possibly 2025's most exciting guitar. But there is something about it that no one's noticed. I dare say it's even hiding a secret. And that's what we're going to get into today. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Ministry of Guitar. I'm Utkarsh coming to you from Singapore. Now, the PRS Herman Li Signature, the Chleo, has raised a lot of attention for good reason. It's very, very innovative. It is rather expensive. And I made a video about it as well, saying how PRS, front-loading so much investment onto a new platform and still selling a very small number of pieces. It was going to be a test for the guitar industry, depending on how well it sold, whether the guitar industry was healthy or not. And I'm glad to say it sold out very quickly, even though it was an expensive guitar. So that shows that despite all the doom and gloom about the economy, there are still people buying expensive guitars, which is a good thing for the guitar industry because expensive guitars fund the rest of the industry. I didn't get one, in case you're wondering, because the guitar is just too thin for me. I don't like thin guitars in general, but that's neither here nor there. What I want to talk about is something about the Chleo that I noticed very recently. And I'm kind of surprised no one's noticed this because it's such an obvious thing. But anyway, let's talk about it. So what's innovative about the Chleo? Of course, the thin body, a bit like the Ibanez S. Lots of stuff that PRS has done with the construction. But one more thing that's innovative about it are the sounds, the versatility of the guitar. And as demonstrated by Brian Ewald on the standard PRS demonstration on the YouTube channel, this guitar can make any sound because it makes 13 sounds, 1-3, note that number for a second. And the way the pickups, the Fishman fluence or whatever they're called, humbuckers are designed is that you can go from a single coil to a low output humbucker to a high output humbucker. And there are various ways in which you pull the push-pull knobs, pull it, put it down, move the switch around, that you can get those 13 sounds. The details are on the website. As Brian Ewald was demonstrating this, 13 sounds, basically going from single coil all the way to high output humbucker, something struck me. This is starting to sound very familiar because 20 years ago, PRS made a lot of fanfare. They launched a guitar which could make 13 sounds. It could go from Chinese single coils, it could have low output humbuckers, and it could have high output humbuckers. And guess what? If you watch my videos, that guitar has been sitting right behind me the entire time. That guitar is that guitar. This, ladies and gentlemen, is, well, I'll put the tremolo to look more aesthetic. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a PRS 513. 13 sounds, 5 pickups, which is really 2 single coils like a humbucker, single coil, 2 single coils. And this guitar can sound like a single coil because when you put it in this mode, it's basically single coil, single coil, single coil. When you put it in this mode, it's low output humbucker, single coil, low output humbucker. Put it in this mode, it's high output humbucker, single coil, high output humbucker. So pretty much slightly different switching system to the Herman Li Chleo, but pretty much the same result. I'm going to put a few demonstrations of the sounds. I actually made a video of this guitar a while back. I'm not going to redo the sounds. I actually did a comparison versus all the typical sounds, the Strats, the Tellies, the ES235s, the EMGs. I'm going to link it here. So now we're going to be having some fun. We're going to be doing a blind test between the 513 and the classics. A Strat, a Les Paul, a Telly, an ES355, and an EMG loaded metal guitar. And it'll be great to see whether you can guess which one is the 513 and which one is the classic guitar. Let me know in the comment section how many of them you got right. So guitar 1 was the Les Paul and guitar 2 was the 513. Guitar 1 was the 513, Guitar 2 was the Strat. Tricky to tell, wasn't it? So Guitar 1 was the Telecaster, Guitar 2 was the 513. Did you get it right? Guitar 1 was the 513, Guitar 2 was the ES355. Jazzy, right? Guitar 1 was the Schecter, Jeff Loomis, Guitar 2 was the 513. Guitar 1 was the 513, Guitar 2 was the Les Paul. Who thought the woman tone can come from other guitars too? And now that we're back, I think you can tell whether this guitar sounds exactly like a Strat or a Les Paul or not. At a bare minimum, it does a pretty good job of getting into the territory of each of those guitars. Right? I can bet most of you didn't guess all of it correctly. You probably got some of them correctly, some of them not. But what I wanted to point out is a couple of things because of this. The first thing to note is that good ideas are kind of circular. They come in and they come out. This guitar was not entirely a success because it was quite expensive back then. Then it got into this whole controversy because this guitar, the original run, had Brazilian rosewood, This particular guitar also is from the original run, so it has Brazilian rosewood. So there are some concerns, you can't really move it around borders that easily. And then, of course, some people didn't like the look of the black pickups. I like it a lot, personally. So this was not entirely their most successful model, because the guitar market has always been all about traditional designs. But the thing is, the inherent concept of one guitar that can truly do it all, like truly do it all, not generally get into the territory like a coil split humbucker or something, but truly get into the territory, that has a lot of appeal. So many manufacturers make a stab at it. If you go on the forums, everyone will tell you just do HSH and do a coil split, you get there, but you don't really get there because single coil sounds are very particular. So you actually do need a single coil guitar, and this is a single coil guitar, though it's 5 single coils. So there is something inherent in that idea of the do-it-all guitar, which the 13 sounds kind of does, right? And so that idea has kind of been recycled again. I'm not sure it was entirely intentional. I'm sure that's what Herman Li wanted, but it's interesting to know nonetheless. The second thing to note is, if you're feeling a little bit discouraged because the Herman Li Signature is, one, very expensive, and secondly, it's all sold out, and I'm sure that some people reselling it for a higher price on the market, which I don't necessarily, I'm not a fan of grabbing something and then trying to resell it later I'm not a fan of grabbing something just for the sake of reselling it later for a higher price. That kind of profiteering I'm not interested in. If I own a guitar, I like it, and the price goes up eventually, I don't mind. It's a good way for me to enjoy my guitars. But I'm never going to buy something just for the sake of flipping it. And with the Herman Li Signature, I had an inkling that this is going to happen, but I was like, I am not interested in that guitar. So I'm not going to get it, even though I was offered the opportunity to buy one very early, because as you can imagine, I have a lot of PRS guitars. I have the requisite contacts to make it happen, but I didn't. Digressing, if you wanted the Herman Li Signature and you're feeling a little bit annoyed about not having had the chance to get it for whatever reason, try one of these out. Now, this is of course the PRS 513 Rosewood model, but there are other regular models with a mahogany neck. This guitar ran from about 2005 to 2017, 16ish. My friend actually owns one of the last 513s ever made. I bought it, and then I gave it to him because he really liked the guitar, and he just couldn't find any. So I sold him my guitar. But yeah, there's a range of them out there. They start at about 2,500 to 3,000, so less than half of a Herman Li. And if you really want that versatility of a PRS that can really make all those sounds with a tremolo, not a Floyd Rose, this is well worth a shout. This really is well worth a shout. I, of course, have been advocate number one for this guitar for 2 or 3 reasons. Number one is the heavy humbucker sound on this guitar. The high output humbucker sound is like nothing else. It has a richness in the bass humbucker, which is so good if you want a creamy woman tone. And it has that amazing, strange dichotomy of being able to do very good pinch harmonics, yet do very good riffing, because the two usually don't go together. Sometimes pickups that do good pinch harmonics, they don't give you that ceramic chugga, for whatever you want to call that sound, for palm muting. This kind of does both things. So that's why I'm a fan of it, because I'm a fan of the heavy humbucker, and I'm a fan of the fact that I can get genuine single coil sounds, not coil split sound, but genuine single coil sounds, because genuine single coils in a guitar, to me, which that feels like a PRS, like a normal PRS. I'm more of a Les Paul PRS guy, so I'm not really fond of the way Strats feel. So for me, that being my root in terms of like a set net guitar, the way they feel, I'm just happy to have genuine single coil sounds in this. And this guitar, as some of you have seen in my previous videos, is truly my do-it-all guitar. This is the guitar I play the most, pretty much, I would say. I've had it since 2018 now, so almost 7 years now. And it has literally always been outside. I've always been playing it. I haven't stopped. I have so many 90 guitars. This is out there. So yeah, so there you go. There's the kind of secret, if not something interesting, but the Herman Li Signature, that the concept of having 13 sounds and going from single coil to high output humbucker has been done before by PRS, so that's not the first attempt. And if you really like that, don't worry, you haven't missed the boat. You could try out one of these guitars, the PRS 513. All right, folks, I hope this was interesting for you, and I'll see you next time.